Kyle Larson led 284 laps. He won both stages. He dominated Bristol Motor Speedway from start to finish, and he still did not win the 2026 Food City 500. That is the brutal reality of what happened on April 12th, 2026 in the Tennessee mountains. A race where the most dominant driver on the track left with a third place trophy and a growing frustration that he made no effort to hide afterward. Entering Bristol, Larson was not a man under pressure. He spoke before the race like a driver completely at ease with the demands of the 0.533 mile bull ring, talking about pace, traffic navigation, the constantly shifting groove. He had every reason to feel that way. Bristol has been one of his strongest tracks for years, and NASCAR's own driver page showed him sitting 6th in points through the first 7 races of 2026, still winless but clearly fast. Comfort, speed, and history were all on his side, and when the green flag dropped, all of that confidence looked completely justified. Ryan Blaney led the field from pole, but it did not last long. Larson, starting 8th, needed just 44 laps to reach the front, passing the pole sitter to take control of the race. From there, the number 5 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet was the class of the field. He won Stage 1 over Christopher Bell, Blaney, and Chase Briscoe, leading with authority and making the rest of the field look like they were racing for the runner-up spot. Stage 2 was more of the same. Larson led all but 1 lap of the 125-lap middle stage, fending off Blaney consistently while the number 12 Team Penske Ford kept getting dragged backward by its own pit crew. The number 12 pit crew ranked 32nd out of 37 teams on the day, a staggering number for a championship level operation. They had already lost 85 positions on pit road through the first 7 races of 2026, a full 30 spots worse than the next closest competitor. Every time Blaney should have been pressuring Larson at the front, he was instead charging back through the field after yet another costly stop. Larson acknowledged this dynamic clearly after the race. Thankfully, Blaney's pit crew, I don't know what was happening to their day on pit road, but it was putting him behind and having to work and allowed me to settle in, lead laps, and barely hang on to some stays. He also added, I knew if the 12 ever had a good pit stop or even a better restart, which both of those started happening, he would be tough to hold off. That was the case. But inside stage 2, something went wrong for Larson. Something small, quiet, and ultimately costly. His spotter, Tyler Man, radioed that there were 50 laps left in the stage. Larson heard 15 to go. He pushed hard, way earlier than planned, burning through tires he would need later. He still won the stage, which says everything about the raw pace of the number 5 car. But the communication error quietly shifted the tire management equation for the rest of the afternoon. Larson swept the first 2 stages at Bristol for the 3rd time in his career. By any reasonable measure, he was putting together one of the great Bristol performances in recent memory. Then came stage 3 and the race began to tilt. Blaney, tired of being shuffled backward by his own pit stops, came alive on the track. He expressed frustration on the radio as the pit road issues continued. By lap 338, he put the bumper to Larson and physically forced his way past for the lead. Ty Gibbs, who had started 5th, been shuffled back to 14th early, and spent the day quietly working his way forward, slipped into 2nd. Larson faded to 3rd. A caution for Connor Zilisch hitting the wall brought the field to pit road. Blaney held the lead through the stop. Todd Gilliland took 2 tires and jumped to 6th. Gibbs passed Larson for 2nd and began hunting the number 12 Ford. Blaney nearly spun getting loose during this run. The track was still punishing mistakes, but he held on and continued to pull away. With 23 laps remaining, Chase Elliott spun on his own, bringing out the 8th caution of the afternoon. This was the moment that changed everything. Gibbs got on the radio immediately. I don't want to give up track position at all. Crew chief Tyler Allen agreed. Gibbs stayed out, joined by Carson Hocevar, Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, and Tyler Reddick. Larson took 2 fresh tires and restarted 6th. Blaney took 4 fresh tires and restarted 7th. In a single pit cycle, Gibbs went from 2nd to race leader, and Blaney and Larson, the 2 men who had controlled 474 of the race's 505 laps combined, were buried in traffic with fresh rubber and a lot of ground to make up. Reddick challenged Gibbs briefly on the restart before fading. Blaney and Larson sliced through traffic on their newer tires, Blaney getting by Larson and closing on Gibbs. With 4 laps to go, Kyle Busch spun Riley Herbst, almost certainly payback for an earlier incident between the two, and the yellow flag flew again. The race was going to overtime, the first overtime at Bristol in 11 years. For the final 2-lap shootout, Gibbs sat out front on tires that were nearly 100 laps old. Blaney and Larson had rubber that was barely broken in. On paper, Gibbs had no business holding them off. He held them off. Blaney went to the inside in the final corners, the two cars running side by side, both of them sliding through the banking. At the checkered flag, 0.055 seconds separated first from second. The closest finish at Bristol since Rusty Wallace beat Ernie Irvan by 1 foot in April 1991. Larson crossed the line 0.229 seconds behind in third. Ty Gibbs had won the Food City 500, his 131st Cup Series start, his first career NASCAR Cup Series victory. In Victory Lane, the emotion was immediate and overwhelming. Gibbs drove his mother, Heather Gibbs, a co-owner of Joe Gibbs Racing, to the celebration, handing her the checkered flag. His cousin Jackson Gibbs serves as a tire changer on the number 54 Toyota. His grandfather Joe Gibbs, Super Bowl winning football coach and NASCAR Hall of Famer, was there. The only member of the family missing was his father. Coy Gibbs, Ty's father and the son of Joe, died in his sleep on November 6, 2022, the night after Ty won the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series championship. The grief of that loss, layered on top of the earlier death of Coy's brother J.D. Gibbs in 2019, hung over everything in Victory Lane. Gibbs spoke directly about his father. "I'd love for my father to have seen this. I knew he knew it was going to happen and expected it as well." Heather Gibbs added, "I wish it were him with Ty and not me today. I wish Coy were here to celebrate with his son, but he prepared him for all these moments." Joe Gibbs reflected, "When I think about Coy, he brought Ty up the entire time. I know he's probably watching." By winning at Bristol, Gibbs joined an extraordinarily exclusive group. He became just the 6th driver in NASCAR history to earn his first Cup victory at Bristol alongside Dale Earnhardt, 1979, Rusty Wallace, 1986, Ernie Irvan, 1990, Elliott Sadler, 2001, and Kurt Busch, 2002. It was also the first Cup victory for a car numbered 54 since Lenny Pond won at Talladega in 1979. Back in the garage, Larson did not hide his frustration or his honesty. "Blaney had by far the best car," Larson said. "His pit crew just kept putting him behind all day, which really allowed us to lead a lot of laps, get those stage wins." He went further, acknowledging Gibbs' surge at the end. "Then Ty got strong there the last run too. That was probably my worst run, I think. We were making some adjustments at that point. I just got a little bit out of the track. Yeah, they were just better than me." And on the chaos of the final laps, got crazy at the end with the strategy and still finished third. I'll take it. It was a good day. It's been a long time since I've gotten good stage points. Those are not the words of a man who is satisfied. They are the words of a driver who fully understands how thin the margin between winning and losing really is, and who can trace exactly where the afternoon slipped away from him. Larson's winless streak now stands at 32 races, dating all the way back to May 11th, 2025 at Kansas Speedway. He now heads directly to Kansas for the next race, the Advent Health 400 on April 19th. Carrying the weight of a Bristol race where he led the most laps, won the most stages, and watched someone else take the trophy. Larson and Chase Elliott won the 2 races at Kansas last year, so the opportunity is real. But at this level, opportunity alone is never enough. Blaney, for his part, left Bristol with his own frustrations. He led 190 laps, had what he believed was the fastest car in the second half of the race, and lost to a driver on century-old tires. His pit crew lost 11 positions on pit road on Sunday alone. Crew chief Jonathan Hassler remained measured. The guys have a lot of potential. They have the ability. We've had some bumps in the road, some of which isn't necessarily those guys or any one person, just kind of getting the whole group and the car and the team kind of in sync. Blaney was more direct. "We gotta get it better. If we're gonna keep competing and get cars that can win the races, we've gotta clean that up." He now sits 62 points behind series leader Tyler Reddick after Bristol, a gap that grows more concerning every time the number 12 loses positions it should not be losing. Meanwhile, Ty Gibbs had been quietly building toward this moment all season. He entered Bristol on a 6-race streak of top 10 finishes, dating back to Circuit of the Americas on March 1st. Teammate Christopher Bell had noted his growth before the race. His input has become so much more valuable through our team debriefs and stuff like that. He's taken a huge step, and he's a joy to be around right now. Even with the ongoing JGR Spire Motorsports lawsuit generating negative headlines about his professionalism, Gibbs never wavered. He responded the only way that matters, on the track. "I've stayed after it the whole time," Gibbs said. "People are gonna stir stuff up in the media. I might not be the most liked person, so everybody is going to jump on it because they don't have much going on. We've been in all the meetings, hammering down, working hard, pushing teammates to the win." At Bristol in 2026, one radio call, one strategy gamble, and 2 laps of overtime settled it all. Kyle Larson led the race. Ryan Blaney had the fastest car, and Ty Gibbs, with his family watching, his father's memory present, and old tires that had no business lasting, found victory lane anyway.